Good evening and welcome. I'm Lisa Ram, your moderator for the evening. I'm host and senior producer of WAVE's Morning Edition. I'm glad to be here. Tonight's forum is an opportunity for you to introduce yourselves to the voters in Sandy Springs and shed some light on your platform. This is not a debate. We want to point that out where you openly challenge your opponent tonight. But again, it's a forum to let the voters know who you are and what you stand for. So I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our two panelists who will be asking all the tough questions this evening. First, we have Amy Wink, editor for Reporter Newspapers, and Tammy Joyner, who is democracy reporter for Atlanta Civic Circle. Welcome, both of you. Before we begin, we'd like you, the District 2 candidates, to introduce yourselves. You will have 1 minute each. Please note you are being timed closely. You see that little blue timer on the screen. So that timer will monitor your words very closely. Melody Kelley, welcome, and we'd like to begin with you. Tell us about yourself.
I'm Dr. Melody Kelley. I moved to Sandy Springs 5 years ago to start my dream job as a tenure-track chemistry professor at Georgia State University. I moved to Sandy Springs as a single mom to a 2-bedroom apartment. And to be honest, I wasn't quite sure I belonged here. But in only 5 short years, I'm a graduate of Leadership Sandy Springs, a graduate of the Citizens Police Academy, a member of the Board of Directors for Sandy Springs Education Force, and a member of the Leadership Council for Sandy Springs Together. I was also recently appointed to the Sandy Springs Charter Review Commission. Now, I know you think that says a lot about me, but I think it says even more about you, Sandy Springs, because only in a community like ours is my story even possible. I'm here tonight because I want to serve the community that has served me as your next city council representative. Thank you.
Dr. Kelley, thank you so much. Our next candidate is Linda Trickey. Linda, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you. I've lived in Sandy Springs since 1995. My husband and I have 3 children, 2 in college and 1 in high school at North Springs. Professionally, I'm an attorney specializing in privacy and cybersecurity, and I've worked for my current employer for 19 years. I've been very involved in Fulton County Schools since 2004, and I was part of the team that led the effort for the upcoming new North Springs building replacement. I want to serve the residents of District 2 because Sandy Springs will continue to be my family's home for a long time, hopefully another 25 years, and I want to help influence the strategic direction of the city. My legal training has taught me to look at issues from both sides, and I believe that compromise and collaboration are essential for forward progress. I'm known for getting things done, and I'm pragmatic and solutions-oriented. District 2 needs my skills. We have several underutilized and aging shopping centers, but we also have this amazing asset called the Chattahoochee River. I want to help create something we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Dr. Melody Kelley and Linda Trickey, thank you both for being here. Now for the forum. You will be asked a total of 2 questions by our panelists, and then I'll ask one based on questions the public submitted in advance. Both of you will have 1 minute to answer each question. Amy will ask the first question. Amy?
Hi, good evening. Ms. Trickey, what city service or program do you think needs an improvement, and how would you improve it?
What single city service or program?
What city service or program needs improving?
Well, I think that I don't know if improving is the right word. I see everything as opportunities. I mean, we have been improving all along. I think we need more parks and recreation space, particularly for the residents of the North End. And I'd really like to see more walking trails, more paths, more recreation opportunities for the folks up there. And I intend to make that, one of my strategic efforts if I'm elected.
Thank you. And Dr. Kelley, what city service or program do you think needs improvement, and how would you improve it?
Wow, that's a great question. I've devoted my life to education. Call me an idealist, but I believe that any student can learn, and a good education is the key to transforming a person's life. In fact, I'm a living example of that. So if I'm elected, one thing I'd like to do is create an education task force. that is charged with creating or fostering greater partnerships with Fulton County schools. I imagine people like retired teachers, recent graduates of Fulton County, as well as current students and community stakeholders being involved. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. Tammy Joyner will have the questioning in this round. Tammy?
Thank you. Good evening to both of you. The question I have is, Sandy Springs has hosted virtual get-togethers with residents to promote more dialogue on race and inclusion. If elected, what would you do in your district to further promote this goal? And I want to start with Dr. Kelley, please.
Okay, well, when it comes to, so when we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, I think what it all boils down to is cultivating a sense of belonging. So one of the things that I want to do as a city council representative is make sure that people feel seen, that they feel reflected in their community, make sure that people feel heard by committing to outreach efforts. I want to make sure that people feel that their identities are affirmed and their cultures are valued. But most of all, I want to give people a sense of agency. I want residents, all residents of the city, to feel that they have a stake in it, that they have a say, that they have control over their fate in this community. I believe that I am uniquely qualified to deliver that, since I am a person who does not necessarily feel included. I believe, well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Trickey, the same question, I'll repeat it. Sandy Springs has hosted virtual get-togethers with residents to promote more dialogue on race and inclusion. If elected, what would you do in your district to further this goal?
Great question. And I actually participated in one of the civic dinners that was sponsored by the city. And I was one of the residents that recommended that the city create a diversity and inclusion committee or task force, because our city is so diverse. And as a public school parent, I've seen it all the time. I've been a room parent, I've attended birthday parties of kids, I've cheered on sports teams. We do have an incredibly rich and diverse city, and that's to be celebrated. I think the city should continue the efforts to communicate with residents in multiple languages, seek recommendations from the local nonprofit organizations as to how best to engage with residents. We need to continue to find opportunities for residents from different backgrounds to interact. City Springs is a wonderful, wonderful space where we are creating all kinds of programming that supports many different tastes and interests. And I think we can continue to do that. We also have a lot of people that work with our hardworking nonprofit and religious organizations that operate in the city. And I would love to get more residents engaged with those particular organizations.
Thank you both. This next question is from the public. A resident called the Chattahoochee River one of the city's greatest natural resources. How can Sandy Springs better utilize the river? Dr. Kelley, I'll begin with you.
Okay, well, when it comes to any sort of development in Sandy Springs, we don't have a lot of land to play with. About 85% of our residentially zoned area is zoned for single family use. So the remaining 15% needs to be used very efficiently. What I'm talking about here is smart development. So we need the type of development that creates value in the community, but also serves the needs of the community. The type of development that attracts and retains businesses, stimulating economic growth. What I'm talking about is developing in a way that preserves our protected neighborhoods, our affordable housing, and our environment. I'm sorry. With respect to the Chattahoochee River, I recently looked over the Chattahoochee River development plans, and I'm concerned about the effect it's going to possibly have on the environment and I'd like to see a little bit more work done on that, as well as the effect it's going to have on traffic. But I also am in favor of it because it does support a lot of what the community asked for in 2018. So I have my reservations, but I'm reluctantly in support of it. Just need a little more work done to actualize it.
Dr. Kelley, thank you. Linda Trickey, I'll have you answer the same question. How can Sandy Springs better utilize the Chattahoochee River?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, the Chattahoochee is a wonderful asset that we need to build upon. And that will do so much for all the residents of the North End, as well as the entire city. So we need to develop the master plans around the trails and the path system. The city has recently acquired some acreage near the river that I hope will be used for a piece of it as a signature park. We need to amass more land there as well too, and create a really great signature park on the North End. And this will benefit all the residents of the North End. We need places for people to walk to. So we need destinations along those trails, and we need, restaurants and other things that people want so badly. Everybody I've spoken to up in that end wants more places to walk to and more ways to get outside. And that's great for everyone.
Linda Trickey, Dr. Kelley, thank you so much. Time flies, doesn't it? That concludes the District 2 Forum. We want to thank you both for being here and sharing your views. At this time, I'd like to give both of you 30 seconds for closing remarks. Dr. Kelley, we'll begin with you.
Sandy Springs. Like my daughter, you are 15 going on 16 years old, and I think it's time for a little tough love. You're a big city now. It's time for you to grow up and act like one. Stop electing the same people with the same backgrounds to represent diverse populations. It's time to try something new. And I know you're scared, but I'm here for you, and we're gonna do it together. But first, you have to elect me, Dr. Melody Kelley for Sandy Springs, District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Trickey, 30 seconds for closing remarks.
Sure. So since we became a city in 2005, we built a beautiful city center and green space. We've attracted new companies. We enjoy many new restaurants, and we have a rock star police force and fire department. There is much to celebrate, but there is always more that we can do to make sure that we are serving all of our citizens in the best way possible. While I don't think it's realistic for city government to be all things to all people, we can always strive to be more things to more people. Thank you.
Linda Trickey, Dr. Melody Kelley, candidates for District 2, thank you so much for being here and sharing your platform and your views with us.